Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing very well. For today's valued viewer request, we've got from Ramya Shetty 2 hours ago. Hey Cat, could you recreate the 2003 USAF Thunderbirds crash where no one was harmed, fortunately? It was due to an altitude miscalculation at the airbase, and we have a link. And just so you know the rules of this, we're happy to do any reenactment you want. If the pilot gets hurt or killed, that's okay, but we can't do ones where any civilians have been hurt. I'm sure you've all seen this a million times before, everyone knows about this. So we're in Idaho, I think it is, this F-16. For the Thunderbirds take off, he's going to climb up, then he's going to roll over 180 degrees roll, and then aft stick to perform split S, and then pull out, I guess, about 500 feet from the ground. That's the idea. It's great that they've got inside footage as well. So that's a roll to our right, so that's going to be his left. Aft stick. Load on the G's. And at some point, he's going to realise that that is wrong. And we've all done this a million times in DCS, haven't we, RC? Where we've gone over in one of our planes and we've miscalculated the altitude, or there's bad weather or something, and he knows as soon as he's on his way down, he probably already knows, but as soon as he's on his way down, he knows the horizon is not in the right place. Now, I don't mean instruments. He will use his visual horizon here. And so he bails out just in time, and that is an absolutely amazing bailout. So my understanding here is that he knew, again, as soon as he went over the top, he knew that he was screwed, and there's nothing he could do about it. But he stayed in to, you know, guide the plane down, because if he jumped out too early, then that plane could have gone into the crowd, obviously. So he's got a lot of responsibility not to smack the crowd, obviously, with the plane. So he probably knew right there, as he was on his way down, that he was screwed. And at that point, you know, that plane's only going to go forward. There's only one way out of this, and that is into the ground. And so you can see now he wings, I think that's a left roll. We're looking at this in reverse, aren't we? Taking it away from the crowd. Not that he really needed to, I suppose, but because, you know, modern airshow regulations keep him several hundred feet away from the crowd. But I guess, you know, it's just good etiquette to make sure. And you can see now, I think that's the edge of the runway there. So the runway is kind of going along like that. So he's rolled to pull away from the crowd by what looks like about 20 degrees. So just to make sure, and he has time to eject, which is, if you like, a bonus. And that ejection is amazing. You don't even see his, if we can reverse that a bit. Look, watch his hands. Yeah, how quick he is to pump them. Amazing. Obviously, he gets some injuries, as you always will do from an ejection, but, you know, it's minor, obviously. And smacks into the ground, rolls. General Electric goes bombing along. Look, pow! So think about the engine. The engine is a big solid unit, whereas the airframe pretty much just disintegrates. Amazing, with a happy ending. And you can see the runway there. You can see that offset angle he managed to put in there, which is the real cool thing of the story. Pilot error caused Thunderbird F-16 to crash shortly after takeoff. September air show in Mountain Home Air Force Base, Idaho. Pilot ejected before impacting to the ground. And this is the kind of legendary picture that he's got here. Really cool stuff. According to the Accident Investigation Board, 31-year-old pilot Chris Strickland misinterpreted the altitude requirement to complete the split S maneuver. He made his calculation based on incorrect mean sea level altitude of the airfield. The pilot incorrectly climbed to 1,600 feet or 1,700 feet above the ground instead of the 2,500 feet AGL above ground that was required to perform the split S maneuver. This is something that's been dogging pilots since the beginning of aircraft, is that their primary source of altitude, their altimeter, is a barometric altimeter. It's set by mean sea level. So if you're in mountains, where are we? Idaho, you're at 3,000 feet above mean sea level. Obviously, that's going to cause a problem. When he realized something was wrong, the pilot put maximum stick, rolled slightly to the left, to ensure the aircraft would impact away from the crowd should he have to eject. He ejected when the aircraft was 140 feet, 0.8 seconds prior to impact, sustained any minor injuries. There was no further injuries. Yeah, great. Talked about that. $20 million plane, whatever. You know, it's money, just not that important. The difference in altitudes, here we go. Nellis and Mountain Home may have contributed to the pilot's error. I mean, there's no way of knowing, I don't think, what he actually set now. Because with this barometric altimeter, the way it works is that you turn a knob to set the pressure to zero the altimeter to the ground, and obviously it was set to the wrong ground level. So the airfield at Nellis is 2,000 feet, whereas the mountain home is 3,000 feet. It appears the pilot reverted back to his Nellis habit pattern for a split second. The Thunderbird Commander Lieutenant Colonel Richard McSpadden and Strickland had performed the stunt around 200 times at different altitudes during his years as a Thunderbird pilot. So it looks like he set his altimeter to 2,000 feet above mean sea level, whereas the actual base was 3,000 feet above mean sea level. And when he took off and performed the stunt, he reached his peak at what he would have read as 2,670, where in fact he was actually at 1,670 from the actual ground, obviously pulled over, and the plane simply, you can't turn around vertically in that space. It needs an extra 1,000 feet with a safety margin. Like we said, he saw the problem before he impacted. He changed the roll of the aircraft to get away from the crowd and managed to eject in time, which is great. So no harm done in the end. But it just shows that even in today's modern times, in 2003, but still, you know, that's modern times, the safety of the crowd relies on a guy, in this case, this guy, turning a knob manually to a pre-calculated height above mean sea level. Shows how fallible these things are. This aircraft does have a backup instrument, a radar altimeter, which is pretty much infallible, but it's simply not used in this kind of maneuver or this kind of setup. It's just not designed for that. So what we'll do now is we'll go and perform exactly the same thing. We'll set our barometric altimeter knob to how we think he set his. I don't think there's any empirical proof that he did do it, but almost certainly that is what he's done. It would have been an amazing coincidence if it hadn't. And we'll see what happens when we try our virtual F-16. Okay, we're in our F-16C now. Now this has been set up correctly. Our base here is not high up, it's basically at sea level, just to keep things as simple as we possibly can. We've got our altimeter here set up. We've used the pressure setting, which is set here in inches mercury, as given to us by our ATC control tower, wherever that is, it's somewhere around here, as 29.83 inches mercury. And that is giving us, in this case, a barometric altitude of 0 when we're on the runway. Now I know the heights are different, but the theory should be the same. We believe that our aircraft pilot in this case changed his pressure setting here to what it would have been set at Nellis Air Force Base. Now we don't have that figure obviously, and it's going to change from day to day anyway, but let's just say it was that, which is 1,000 feet difference, which is true, like thus. Now we're going to take off on with our air show, so power up to max afterburner. Aft stick, gear up. Now I've got to be careful not to overspeed here, it's such a powerful plane. I believe the air show speed was 225 knots IAS for this particular stunt. If we look at the altitude here, this is what's showing as our altitude, currently 1930. Now if we remember, he was assigned to go to 2,500, or more likely 2,650, or around there I think is what he actually was trying to get to. So we're going to keep travelling up to there, and we're going to invert now. So at this point he is at, I've gone slightly above here, so I've got a couple of extra 100 feet, but we'll work with it. 2,780 above the ground. But the reality is, if we go here, we can see that he is actually 1,891, nearly 1,000 feet difference to what is being shown to us by our barometric altimeter due to the incorrect pressure settings. So let's see how we do here. Roll over. On way. Full power. I've realised something's gone wrong. Turn away from the crowd. I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. And full back stick. Da 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 da. Blast. And I didn't get out in time because I don't have the react. Or have I? Am I dead? I'm dead. I just don't have the reactions of what that pilot had to get out, and maybe, you know, there's slight differences in the modelling of timings and stuff like that. But otherwise, that went almost exactly the same as what happened with the real bird. And to summarise, because of an incorrect pressure setting set in the altimeter of the aircraft, while I thought that I was 2,500 feet or just above that from the ground, so actual height, I was actually only 1,500 or a little above that height from the ground. And no matter how much backstick I pulled, I simply could not get out of that. And the only other thing to note is that there have been many crashes since this incident with exactly or very similar causes of the crash. Now, in the other ones, civilians were killed, so I don't want to cover those, but I'm sure you all know what they are. That's just to show the severity of this problem. I hope you enjoyed it and see you later.